Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Star Wars Tabletop RPG production update. I'm going to make this one quick because there isn't a whole lot to talk about, but there is important stuff to talk about, which is the fact that we've changed some of the hardware we're getting for the show. So I've changed out the mixing board, which is how we get our audio to you guys, and I've also changed out one of the microphones. The price is about the same either way, but generally speaking, this will be a lot better. Not only is the mixing board better quality, which means we'll get better sound, but it has a little bit more flexibility for what we need, a lot more expandability. And then the microphone is just straight up good. So let me talk about the microphone first. We're going to switch one of the Rode shotgun mics, which is a microphone that picks up pretty much everything in front of it, right? That's the idea, is that it'll pick up a lot of sound. So we're going to use this to pick up the players because they're all going to be sitting in front of the mic. So it'd be nice to have that microphone fairly far back so it picks them all up, but, enough that all of the sound is being picked up. And then we're switching one of those out for the Rode Procaster. And what that does is it's more of a studio microphone. It's more something that you would do for voiceovers or general podcasting and stuff like that. And the Procaster is meant to be up close. So that will be the one that I use for the show, but it will also be the one that I use for everything else because it's a really nice microphone, especially for the price of what it is. It's the quality of about a $500 microphone, but it's much less than that, which is really nice. So what's going to happen with this? Well, as soon as we get the mixing board, which I'll talk about in a second, on Patreon, and we're pretty close to having the money for that, then I will go and get my microphone myself. So I will get the microphone and the mixing board together, and then that will prove an immediate boost in audio quality on the channel. And that goes across the board. That's not just for the show. That's everything across the board, because I will be using that microphone for everything else. And you may ask, Zen, why do you need a new microphone? Yours sounds, pretty okay. Well, actually, mine only sounds pretty okay because I spend a ton of time adjusting it and editing the actual recorded quality of it. So I'm in a program called Audition, which is basically what this mixing board is. And I'm making sure that the volume is set properly, that there's no background noise, and which there is a lot of that my mic picks up, and I take it all out. And then finally, with that, there's also the just general EQ. So I'm changing like the highs, the mids, and the lows, and making my voice sound better. So that's what I do a lot of my time when I'm editing a video, is editing audio. And that's no fun. So if I got this microphone and mixing board, that will save me a lot more time because I won't have to be editing that anymore. And it means just general, you'll notice the difference when I get the new microphone. You'll be like, holy crap, like that is actually a really nice change, and everything will sound a bit more pleasant. So let's talk about the mixing board real quick. Now, if you've never seen one of these, you're probably very overwhelmed with any of this, and that's fine. It's actually really simple. This is an analog board, so you have digitals and analogs. Analogs are really trustworthy as far as how long they're going to last, generally speaking. The digital stuff is really cool, but really expensive, so we're not going to worry about a digital board anytime soon. So in the top left, you have those 4 little black circles. Those are inputs, so you can either use an XLR cable, which is like a microphone cable, which is what we'll be using, or like an instrument cable for like a guitar. Like you could plug a guitar directly into the mixing board and record it into the computer. Because on the back, which you can't see from the top view, is a little USB thing, which is how we get the sound from the mixing board into the computer. And it's a bi-directional USB, so I can send and receive data, which is really nice. Then underneath those inputs, you have the little 4 white knobs. Those are gain, so you set the gain to what you need the volume to be. That's what you're setting, is where the volume will be at. And then at the very bottom, the other white knobs, the bigger ones, are how you adjust the volume, more directly. So you'll have a little bit more control over it. The gain is like a massive boost as you're turning it up, whereas the volume knobs at the bottom will give you like little tiny adjustments so you can really dial it in with the way that you want. But very little of that matters because those 2 yellow knobs underneath the 4 white ones, the gains, are the compressors. And this is a huge feature of this little soundboard. A compressor basically means that if I have it on and I yell into the microphone, it will adjust the volume to keep it at the same volume. Likewise, if I whisper into it, it will keep the volume at the same volume. That's basically what a compressor does. It's the layman's terms of it. So I'm not getting into like huge sound engineer technical jargon for you guys, because you don't need to know that. Nor is it very interesting to most of you, which, I get it. Then all the green knobs, those are your EQ, so you can change the highs, the mids, and the lows, which is what I already do in Audition. And it will make it a lot easier because I could just set the EQ for the individual mics for the channels. So like for my mic that I would use for recording everything else plus the show, like my channel would never change. And then I would have a secondary channel of stuff that I would really only use it for the show, and that again would pretty much never change. Underneath all those green knobs, there's some white ones, which are to turn the effects on and off. I'll talk about that in a second. And then all the red ones are panning, so you can pan stuff left or right, which we won't really use for the show, but if we wanted to capture something in stereo, you can use those to adjust that, which is really cool. Finally, on the right side of the board, you have the effects stuff. Now, the reason we have to get the soundboard with the effects instead of one without, which I would prefer one without, because it is a little cheaper, is the one with the effects has the USB, which puts it into our computer, which means we can pick up the audio. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to. So the effects are just kind of having to be tagged on there. We'll almost never use them, maybe in very special circumstances, but that's pretty much it's option. It's an option that we will almost never use. Finally, at the very top right, you've got a lot of different inputs. What we're going to use these for and how this is all going to work is the black circles, the one in the top left. That's how our mics will go in, right? So we'll have the inputs for our mics there. Then we'll have the USB going from the board to the computer, and that's how we'll pick up the sound. And then in the broadcaster, like XSplit, we can pick up the individual mics and then separate them out and do anything that we need to do with that inside the broadcaster. But I will adjust all of the volume and the EQ and everything from the board itself. Finally, the computer will have audio cables coming from it into the board, which is the general computer audio. So this will be, in particular, music for the players that I normally play when we're playing, because it really sets the mood. It's way cooler. And then finally, the other two players, the remote players that wouldn't be in the room with us, who are piping in through Discord, they would be coming through that as well. So that audio cable would go from the computer to the mixing board, and from the mixing board out to a thing of speakers that we have in the room, which means that with this board, I would have full control over the room volume. So that way the players can hear it, but the microphones aren't picking it up. But it wouldn't affect the volume that you're hearing on the stream and on the video, because that is all controlled from the computer, as opposed to us controlling the volume to the speakers from the mixing board. So it works way better that way. That's one of the reasons we're getting this board. The board also has 10 channels as opposed to the 4 that we were going to get before. And 10 channels isn't really necessary, but I could see us using 8 as we expand and get more stuff and change the show format. So the reason we did 10 is just to have some headroom in case we need to use 10 channels, which is unlikely. But still, it's better to be safe than sorry. And just generally speaking, I would go with like a 6 input, a 6 channel board if I could, but because any of them that are 6, or actually, I should say the 10 channel board from the Yamaha, so the Yamaha MG10XU, is the only one with the USB and up. So the more channels you get, the more USB capability you get. Whereas if you go with the 10 channel board without the effects, you get no USB. And if you go with the 6 channel with or without the effects, you get no USB. So that's the reason we're going with the 10 channel. It's not that much more expensive than the other one. So that's some just technical jargon. But I like to keep you guys updated because you're investing in this show. You guys are making sure that it's going to happen, which is really cool. And, we highly appreciate that. So to show our appreciation, we're keeping you updated on the technical jargon that comes with it. You may or may not be interested in it, but it's cool to have the data available to you of why we're getting certain things and whatnot. So yeah, with that, we're getting the board as soon as we get the money on Patreon. And then as soon as that happens, I will be picking up the microphone as well. They'll come packaged together, and I'll be super happy because all of the audio quality on the channel will massively jump, and I can't wait for it. It'll be really cool. With that, also, if you want to support us, make sure you go to patreon.com/OSWguild. I've sent out, like I said earlier, the message to our patrons, so I'm going to keep doing that. Just little private messages to make sure everybody's updated if we change anything else, or just, keep you updated with everything going on there. And again, that link is in the description below as well. But with that, we're going to do a probably another storytime video. Seems people liked the first one, so I will likely do one of those at the end of the week. And tonight when we're playing, because we're playing tonight, which is really exciting, I will try to do the interviews with the players so you guys can meet who all the players are and all that stuff. But that again depends on time. So with that, you gotta get a couple videos to look forward to, and we shall see you guys next time.